Legion was its name, and let me tell you, they were many. I used to live in the graveyards, and in the graveyards, I was living among the dead, and the dead, they didn't have a problem with me. They didn't run across the street and hide every time they saw me. They didn't shelter their own kids. It wasn't the dead that did that. It was only the living. I don't know exactly when it started, but I can tell you exactly how it started. It started with a voice here and a voice there, and they would make suggestions. And multiple voices would come and they would make suggestions that ended up turning into commands. And commands, well, then those voices ended up ruling my life. I was trapped in darkness. Demon possessed is what they said I was. And possessed by an impure spirit. Legion was its name. Let me tell you, they were many. They tried to chain me, to restrain me at one point in time. And they came into the graveyard and they chained me up. They tied up my arms, tied up my hands, tied up my legs. And for a moment, I kind of enjoyed it because it felt like order was finally in my life. But it didn't last long. Strength that I didn't ask for, strength that I didn't even know I had, ended up breaking those chains. And I will never forget the fear that I saw in those eyes. I'll never forget the faces of those people because that was the last time I ever saw anybody. Nobody ever came back again. They were scared of me. Being feared was actually a lot lonelier than being hated. I would cut myself with the stones there in the graveyard just to remind myself that I could still feel something. Just to remind myself that something was real. I wasn't dead. It was worse. Way worse. I was very aware of what was happening. I just couldn't do anything to stop it. But let me tell you, something changed that night. Something changed that night in them. They feared something. They feared someone. I didn't know who he was. I'd never heard of him. I didn't know the power that he had. But I knew one thing. Those chains were about to break. And they were not the only thing that was going to break. Our story takes place in Mark chapter 5, if you'd like to join me there. Mark chapter 5, that is where we're going to be this morning. And this story is a very odd story. It's a very weird story. It's kind of one that you look at and you're like, really? That happened? But I believe it happened. I believe with all my heart that it happened. And not only did I believe that, but I believe also that this is genius level writing. Because in it, there is language that all throughout that hints toward the Roman Empire. Before we get to Mark chapter 5, I want to make a stop. You don't have to turn there in Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7 reads this. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel saw a dream and visions on his head as he lay in his bed. Then he wrote down the dream and told the sum of the matter. Daniel declared, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven stirred up the great sea, and four beasts came out of the sea, different from one another. Daniel goes on and he describes each of those four beasts that he has just now seen come out of the sea. Coming out of the sea was a symbol of evil. Four beasts, evil beasts, have come out of the sea. And Daniel's dream points towards the future when four world empires will take turns ruling the world. The first was the Babylonians, ruling at the time that Daniel sees this dream. The next was the Medo-Persian era. Then the third was Alexander the Great and the Greeks conquering the world. And by the time of Jesus, it's the fourth beast's reign. It's the fourth beast that is the most evil of them all, the Roman Empire. And if you are a Jew at this time, if you are a Jew living in oppression by the Roman Empire, you would love nothing more to see this beast die. You would love nothing more to see this beast, this evil monster, this nation of pigs thrown back into the sea right where it belongs. With that in mind, join me Mark chapter 5, verse 1. And they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gerasenes. And when Jesus had stepped out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. We left Jesus at the end of Mark chapter 4. He was on the sea in a boat, and he calmed the storm. It's most likely in the middle of the night. And so it's in the middle of the night, maybe early morning hours when they finally get to shore. Very, very dark. And Jesus is known as being in enemy territory. He's in the territory of the Gentiles, the Decapolis, the region of 10 different cities. Jews didn't go there. Jews did not associate with him. But not only is he in enemy territory, now he's met with a man that we read has an impure spirit. He's demon possessed. Demons are spiritual beings created by God, but just like humans, they chose to rebel. They chose to rebel against God. And now they serve a master, Satan himself, and their goal is to wreak havoc and rebellion on God's creation. That's exactly what they're doing here with this man. This man here is possessed by demons. And we're going to read not just one demon, multiple demons. And listen to just how severe his case is, verse 3. He lived among the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been bound with shackles and chains, but he wrenched the chains apart, and he broke the shackles in pieces. No one had the strength to subdue him. Night and day, among the tombs and on the mountains, he was crying out and cutting himself with stones. It's a very dark picture. A guy who's insane is what we read of. He's insane. He has superhuman strength. He's got some kind of mental illness. He's cutting himself. It's a very dark image. And notice that phrase at the end of verse 4. No one had the strength to subdue him. That can be translated, no one could tame him. They treated him like a wild animal, and they couldn't even tame this wild animal. This is just how off that this man is. Keep reading, verse 6. And when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and fell down before him, and crying out with a loud voice, he said to him, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." What have you to do with me? That can be translated, why are you here? Why you're not supposed to be here. That can also be translated, you're not supposed to be here just yet. You're early. You're very early. What are you doing here? Notice what he says, I adjure you by God, do not torment me. Notice these demons also know that there is a higher power. They also know, but they rebel against that higher power. He says, do not torment me. Do not torture me. The demon understands that this, when he goes toe-to-toe with Jesus, he understands that it's not going to be a wrestling match. It is not going to be a competition. He does not stand a chance against the Son of God, and he knows that, and he's pleading with Jesus, do not torment me. Jesus says, verse 8, for he was saying to them, come out of the man, you unclean spirit. And Jesus asked him, what is your name? He replied, my name is Legion, for we are many. Legion is his name. And he says there are many. The largest legion was a Roman military unit of about 6,000 soldiers. I don't know for a fact that he's possessed by 6,000 demons, but it's a legion. It's a military unit. It's an army of demons, multiple demons at one time. We're going to read in a minute, enough demons to possess 2,000 pigs. Imagine the torture that this man is going through. But this demon is confused. He's upset. He's mad. Keep reading verse 11. Verse 10, actually. And the demon begged him earnestly not to send them out of the country. Now, a great herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside, and they begged him, saying, send us to the pigs, let us enter them. Demons are like parasites, and they have to have a host. They also have authority over a specific region that we read here, and they're pleading with Jesus, don't let us be without a host. Do not send us out of our region. And so they say, send us to those pigs over there. And here's what's weird. Jesus says, okay, verse 13. So he gave them permission. And the unclean spirit came out and entered the pigs, and the herd, numbering about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the sea and drowned in the sea. The pigs end up going into the sea, possessed by the demons, and ended up drowning in the sea, dying. And the question is, who killed the pigs? Did the demons go into the pigs and just force them to go into the sea? No, because the demons didn't want to die in the first place. Did Jesus kill the pigs? Was Jesus the one that sent them into the pigs and made the pigs do that? No. The most likely explanation is the pigs were demon possessed and they did not know what to do, and they just immediately just ran to the sea. The pigs ended up killing themselves. Very weird story. Verse 14 actually gets a lot weirder. The herdsmen fled and told about it in the city and in the country. Could you imagine going to work that day, going to your boss? Yeah, it's kind of a weird story. You see, you're not going to believe this. Kind of like the dog ate my homework. Anyways, and the people came to see what it was that had happened. And they came to Jesus and saw the demon-possessed man, the one who had the legion, sitting there. Notice this image. This man that was wreaking havoc, now he's sitting there. I love this phrase, clothed and in his right mind. That's the beautiful picture of what Jesus does, not just for this man, but everyone who comes to him. But notice the town. And they were afraid. And those who had seen it described to them what had happened to the demon-possessed man and into the pigs. And they began to beg Jesus to depart from their region. And Jesus says, okay, I'll leave. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed with demons begged him that he might be with him. The man that has just now been healed, that has just been freed from these chains, says he's begging Jesus to be with him. That phrase "with him" is used earlier in Mark several times to speak of Jesus' followers. He's wanted to be a follower of Jesus. He's wanted to leave his life and give everything to Jesus. And the odd thing about this is Jesus says no. Verse 19. And he did not permit him to, but said to him, go to your home, to your friends, and tell how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. You could translate the Lord there as Yahweh. He says, go tell how much Yahweh has done for you. Now he's had mercy on you. And notice what the next verse says. So he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And everyone marveled. Very weird story. Like I said, I believe that it happened. And there is so much in the story. I just don't have time in the story to grab everything in it. In the story, Jesus interacts with three different characters. Jesus interacts with Legion, Jesus interacts with the townspeople, and then he has an interaction with the man himself. I want to walk through each and every one of those interactions. First one, Jesus and Legion, Jesus confronting Legion. You have to read this story in its context to fully grab the depth of what's going on here. Remember, Mark is written to Roman Christians, Christians in Rome that are being persecuted by the Roman Empire. And many commentators believe that this story is written in a way as political satire in context with the Roman Empire. There is lots of military language, Roman Empire language throughout this story. Legion is one of them. Notice the pigs. Verse 11, now a great herd of pigs. I'm no rocket scientist, but I do know that pigs don't travel in a herd. They travel in swine. That word herd there is used to speak of new recruits, a group of new recruits coming into the Roman army. Another one, there in verse, I can't remember where it is, but where Jesus permits them to go into them. That is also another word that has Roman army connotations. Roman soldiers, when they would come to take over a city, take over a territory, they were known for sexually abusing women and children, going into them. And so that used there as well. Jesus gave them permission, dismissed them like a commander dismisses his soldiers. The chains, the restraints, the chains of Rome prided itself on the chains that it had in the world, that it had brought peace through chains, peace through torment on the world. And the chains are supposed to be seen that way. The territory that the demons do not want to leave. Rome again prided itself on dividing the world into territories. You get the point. There's a lot of Roman Empire language in the story. And it's Mark's way of writing to these Christians that are experiencing persecution from Rome, and he's trying to get them to see that Rome is not the real enemy. There's a greater enemy at work. There's a greater enemy pulling the strings. Paul puts it like this: "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." Our battle is not against people, and that is what Mark is trying to communicate to his audience. Your battle is not against the Roman Empire, it's against the powers of darkness in this world. Think of the man for a moment. The man is crazy, mentally ill on the surface, but in reality, his problem is so much deeper. It's an impure spirit. It's a legion. And Jesus never really deals with the problem as the man. Jesus deals with the problem as the demon. People are not the problem. And I think this is becoming such a great theme in America, especially for the American church, that we treat people like the problem. And when we treat people like the problem, we're ending up pushing away the very people that we are called to save, the very people that we are called to reach, the very people that we are called to bring to Jesus. People are not the problem. There's a greater power at work. There's an evil power working in this world, and Jesus is here to deal with that, and he does deal with that. When the church forgets who the enemy is, it starts wounding the very people that Jesus died for. People are not the problem. Jesus also has an interaction with the townspeople, and this is just so odd to me. I want you to think for a moment the impact of 2,000 pigs just dying in the economy. The amount of money. I just started the carnivore diet a little over a week ago, and I'm thinking, man, you know what I could do with all that bacon? It's a lot of bacon that just went down the cliff straight into the sea. That's a lot of money, a lot of profit that just drowned, almost literally went down the toilet. It's a lot of money in the 21st century. It's a lot of money in the first century. So these people are upset about that. And because of the economic impact that Jesus has had, they tell Jesus, leave, get out of here. Because of money, they say no. You see, these are Gentiles. These are Gentile people, and they are used to worshiping gods that they can control. And now Jesus is here, and he wants control. And now they have a problem with that. You see, people are fine with Jesus, and lots of people want Jesus as long as he doesn't change anything, as long as he doesn't mess anything up. We want Jesus the life coach, Jesus the accessory, the add-on, the ticket to heaven, Jesus the adjective to describe my life and make myself look good. But the problem is, that's not just what Jesus is. Jesus is dangerous. Jesus is disturbing, and he will mess your life up. But in doing so, he will bring you into freedom. Jesus will mess you up. Jesus is here to cause chaos, and it's through the chaos that he brings your life into order. Mark is written in a way that you're supposed to identify with all the characters. There's different characters throughout the stories. You identify with maybe the paralytic earlier in Mark being let down. You identify with the sinners and tax collectors sitting at the table eating with Jesus. You identify with the demon-possessed man, the sick, the healed, the lame, the blind. You're supposed to identify with people. But you do not want to identify with the townspeople, because they reject Jesus, because Jesus has just messed their life up. It is easy, and I think this is the biggest point that I get out of this. It is easy to live the Christian life and to play the Christian game and never fully submit to Jesus as Lord. Never fully surrender your life to him. To show up, go through the motions, do all the right things, but honestly turn around and live like you yourself are Lord of your life. The townspeople say, no, Jesus, we don't want you. Jesus and Legion, Jesus and the townspeople, Jesus and the man. I just love that picture there in verse 15. The man sitting there, clothed and in his right mind. The man is not just set free from a demon, he's also restored. Jesus can set you free. Jesus brings freedom, and he can remake you from the inside out. And our God is a God who goes to the other side of the lake, who goes into the darkness, into the graveyard, into the powers of evil, and he sets people free. I don't know where you are this morning. Maybe you relate a lot to this guy right here. I want to take a moment and just say this. If you are not in Christ, if you have not been baptized and received the forgiveness of sins and the gift of the Holy Spirit, you are just like this man earlier in the story. I'm not saying you're demon possessed, but that is what sin does to you. It wreaks havoc in your life. It harms you. It is harming yourself. It is doing all of that. That is what sin is doing to you. And you need to be made new at the waters of baptism, is what Titus calls the washing of the water of regeneration of the Holy Spirit. Where sin leaves the house and the Spirit of God, the Spirit of freedom, the Spirit of restoration comes in and takes up its residence. I don't know where you are this morning. Maybe that's you. This man, and the story just ends weird. The man wants to follow Jesus. The man wants to give his life to Jesus, but then Jesus says, no. Go to your own people. Go to your friends and your family, to your own people. Tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. It's kind of weird. Why did Jesus say no? You keep reading in Mark, I think it's Mark chapter 8. We'll get there eventually. But Jesus comes back to this very same region, this very Decapolis, very same people. And this time, he is not met with rejection. He is met with open arms. He's met with loving people that want to hear him. A crowd of 4,000 will gather and hear from him. So the question is, what changed between this interaction in chapter 5 and chapter 8? One man. The theory is one man went around his entire region telling his story, telling what God had done for him, telling how the mercy that he had received. That's it. This one man changed the entire region, and they are welcoming Jesus with open arms later in Mark. There is power in just telling what God has done for you. There is power in telling your story and how he is working in your life. And notice what Jesus says. Go to your own people. I don't know about you, but I have a hard time going to my own people. It's easy to stand up here and just do all this. It's a lot harder to sit down at a table with friends and family that you know and telling them about God, telling them about what he's doing for me and the mercy that he's had. But that's what Jesus calls this man to do. And he calls us to do the same thing. God does not command us to go anywhere where his grace will not empower us. His grace has empowered this man to tell his story and change the heart of an entire region. Very odd story, but it's a great picture of what Jesus does for us. And I want to leave you with this morning. I want you to consider how much the Lord has done for you. Again, maybe you relate a lot to this man. Your life is in darkness. Your life is out of order. Jesus can set you free. Jesus can remake you. How much has God done for you? How much has he had mercy on you? Because the fact of the matter is, he's had mercy on all of us. You and all of us deserve the wrath of God. We deserve to die in his presence. But instead, we get to wake up in the morning. Instead, we get to put on clothes. Instead, we get to go to a job that maybe we dread. Everything that we get that is not the wrath of God is the mercy of God. God's had mercy on us. How much has the Lord done for you? How much has he had mercy on you? And how can you share that with other people? Again, this morning, I do not know where you are. Maybe your life is a mess and you need order out of chaos. The invitation is to come to Jesus. Come to Jesus, come to the light, and he'll free the darkness. He'll set the chains free. But that starts with submitting to him as Lord, submitting to him as King through the waters of baptism, where we bow the knee and our life is dead and we come up in new life, raised a new creation, filled with the Holy Spirit. If we can help you in any way, I invite you to come as we stand and as we sing.